Hi guys, Josh here, and this is my review of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Yes, Ready Player One. Don't worry, the sequel is coming, and I've got something pretty special planned for that. The sequel, Ready Player Two, came out recently. I finished reading it today, and it's pretty unpopular. So what I've decided to do for that one, instead of a traditional review, is how I would have written it. I want to do something more constructive because I think there was a good story there, and I want to show how I think it could have been fixed. But on with today's review. Ready Player One is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory meets Tron with loads of 1980s pop culture references thrown in. In the future, the not too distant future, the entire world has just gone to hell. Fortunately, though, people don't really need to spend their time there because everyone spends their time in the Oasis. The Oasis is essentially a virtual reality where people spend their entire lives. The Oasis began as a video game but has grown to encompass all of people's everyday lives. For instance, the students don't go to a physical school, they log into the Oasis and then attend a virtual one with thousands of other students. Our main character is Wade Watts. Wade Watts is a poor kid who grew up in the Stacks, which is essentially like a trailer park, who is obsessed with 80s pop culture and wants to solve Halliday's Easter egg. Before his death, James Halliday, the creator of the Oasis, left an Easter egg hunt saying that whoever found Halliday's Easter egg would go on to inherit not only his entire fortune, but also ownership of the Oasis. Naturally, Wade, or as we know him by his avatar's name, Parzival, is not the only person searching for this egg. And some of the other people who are looking for it are willing to fight dirty to find it. The book is crammed with 80s pop culture references because Halliday was obsessed with them. So anyone who wants to solve the Easter egg hunt has to become obsessed with it themselves, and that's why Wade Watts is such a brilliant protagonist for this. The flexibility of the Oasis allows us to explore these things in really interesting ways. Wade Watts gets to experience films like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like he literally enters the film as one of the characters and experiences it. He also gets to enter classic Dungeons and Dragons modules. He also gets to play classic video games like Zork and Joust, but like he literally goes inside of those games. These parts are why I love this book, and they are the funnest part of the whole novel. And this is kind of why the movie left me disappointed. I think a mixture of copyright law and a need to keep the plot moving stopped the movie from really just delving into these parts, which are not entirely necessary to move the plot, but they are the best parts of the book, and they are just so much fun. So through the book, Parzival joins a group of other egg hunters, or gunters, as they call themselves. They end up forming a group and call themselves the High Five. So as well as Parzival, we have also got Artemis, H, Shoto, and Diato. And each of those members reveal something about life on the internet. I don't want to give anything away, but nobody really presents themselves in the Oasis as they are in real life. And as we go to learn more about these characters, it reveals a lot of things deeply personal about those characters. In some parts, this is just a lot of fun, but in others, this book actually does comment on how we make assumptions about people. To sum this world up, in the Oasis you can experience literally anything, and you can create literally anything, whether that is entertaining, whether it's practical, or whether it's simply hedonistic. I think there is an intentional twinge of sadness that people are choosing to spend all their lives within this virtual reality, but Ernest Cline makes a very clever decision in making the real world so unbearable that it's quite excusable that they would choose to do that. Okay, what are my criticisms? Well, I would be lying if the fact that this all takes place in a virtual reality doesn't detract from the tension. There are points where the characters' avatars are in danger, and I do struggle to care. I mean, I think Ernest Cline could explain the explain the stakes a little better. But really, I don't think it's made clear whether if a character dies in the game, they die in real life, or if that character's death is permanent. But why would that happen, and why would the character's death be permanent, considering that so many people in this world actually don't use their characters for a video game. They just use it as a virtual life to go to school, to socialize, whatever. And it seems harsh that if that avatar dies, you just account is blocked and you have to make a new one, or you can't make a new one. And yeah, I think that could have been cleared up a bit more, because I mean, I've read it twice now and seen the film, and I don't really understand it. Maybe that's just me. The real world is not really fleshed out, but then we don't spend a lot of time there, and to be honest, that's not the focus, so that's not a big criticism. Parzival is a really likeable hero. He's not a perfect character, he's flawed, but in the best ways, and I think he is a very good placeholder character. If you look at Harry Potter, or Pirates of the Caribbean, or even Star Wars, I guess, to some extent, the main character is never the most interesting character. It's the people around them who have these quirks and that are more interesting, whereas the main character is kind of bland. And I think the reason for that is that when you read it or watch it, you find it a lot easier to imagine that you are that character. And Wade Watts is no exception in this one. What Ernest Cline does very cleverly in this is that Wade Watts does have defining characteristics, primarily that he is just obsessed with all this stuff. He knows loads about arcade games, he knows loads about 80s movies, 80s music, things like this. And chances are, if you're reading this book, you are also quite knowledgeable about those things, or at least some of them, and those things that you don't know, it's interesting to find out about. So you find yourself thinking, oh, if this really happened, I would want to take part in the egg hunt. And you wonder if you would be able to do it. So he's a really good protagonist in that way, and the side characters and the other egg hunters have their individual character quirks to make them interesting. And that's it. I just think this book's a lot of fun. As I said, I've read it twice. I read it the first time and I loved it. I actually listened to it on Audible, and it is read really well by Will Wheaton. So if you've got Audible, check that out. Yeah, I read it the first time. I loved it. I read it again to get ready for Ready Player 2, which I will review soon, and I'm going to do a how I would have written Ready Player 2, because I think it does have a lot of good stuff in it, but doesn't quite hit the landing. And the movie, didn't like it. It was really disappointing for reasons I've already given. It missed a lot of those indulgent pop culture references that make this a lot of fun, and just ended up becoming a bit of a bland story. Yeah, so what did you guys think? Have you read this? Are you going to read it? What did you think? Compare it to the second book. Did you like the movie? Compare those. Stick all that in the comments, guys. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll get working on the second video. See you soon. Happy reading, guys.